Welcome to How to Build a Hearthstone, a series about Hearthstone game design. Today, we will be talking all about warriors and the design space they hold. According to Wowpedia, warriors are the quintessential fearless fighters on the battlefield, and their pure martial prowess inspires courage in allies and despair in enemies. Experts in all manner of melee weaponry and possessing incredible physical strength and skill, warriors are perfectly suited to serve as frontline combatants and battlefield commanders. So, what does this mean in Hearthstone? In the World of Warcraft, one of the big warrior mechanics was the rage meter that built up as you got into fights. In Hearthstone, this is represented in a number of ways. First off, there are cards that have Enrage, or they used to have Enrage, it got removed. Cards like Grommash Hellscream and Warbot gain attack while damaged. The next type of minion are minions that, whenever they take damage, get an effect. So cards like the Security Rover, which makes minions, or cards like Axe Flingers that deal damage when damaged, fall into this category. The last type of enraged minions are minions that, whenever they survive damage, you get an effect. So cards like Rotface and Valkyrie Soulclaimer fall into this category. Now I want to quickly shout out Grim Patron, which, while not technically a warrior card, found its home in the warrior class. The next type of card is Damage Minions Matter cards. So these are cards that care about if you have a damaged minion, or care about if your opponent's minions are damaged. So you have cards like Blood Warriors and Sudden Genesis, which give you copies of your damaged minions. You have cards like Crush and Execute, which will act as removal spells if you have a damaged minion or if your opponent have damaged minions. Or you have cards like Battle Rage, Rampage, and Death Revenant, which will give you bonuses for having damaged minions. I like this design space a lot because it shows how, as a warrior fights, it gets stronger. So how do we damage our minions? Well, we go to our Rage Activator cards. So we have cards like Animated Berserker and Cruel Taskmaster, which will just deal damage to your minions and give you a little bit of bonus. Cruel Taskmaster becoming an Inner Rage on legs, and an Animated Berserker being a 1-3, which is a very good stat line. Finally, you get to Whirlwind effects. So, warriors were known for having really good crowd control, and the Whirlwind effect, which is to deal 1 damage to all minions, as stated in the original Whirlwind card, it even has all in all caps to really teach players that, hey, we're going to be dealing damage to our own minions, and this is the thing we want to do. Whirlwind effects are really versatile because they clear out minions on your opponent's sides, they activate your enrage abilities, and helps you make trades. So that's really good. The next type of cards are the Damaging Minions Matter cards. So this is a really small category, but I really thought I should introduce it. Armorsmith and Frosting Berserker, care about when other minions get damaged, and so that's sort of a unique effect that I think that Blizzard should really look into. The next type of card effect is that warriors are good at getting rid of a lot of enemy minions at one time. So you have cards like the classic Brawl and the new Reckless Furies, which really destroy all the minions on the board. You can combo King Mosh with a Whirlwind effect to destroy all your enemy minions, and all of yours as well. Or, if you want to be on the cheap, you can use Sleep with the Fishes in combination with a Whirlwind effect to hopefully clear off the enemy board. In addition to sweepers, warriors get access to single target removal. Cards like Shield Slam and Execute have been mainstays in all control warrior decks since the beginning of the game. And a control warrior deck needs to gain armor in order to survive throughout the game. And warriors have no shortage of ways to gain armor, from its hero power to cards like Shield Block and Shield Maiden. Warriors have always had the ability to gain armor, and choosing which cards you want to use has been really exciting for deck builders. Now, when you get all this armor, you gotta do something with it besides stay alive. And in cards like Blade Gauntlet, and Shield Slam allow you to leverage your armor. Cards like Geosculptor Yep, really reward you for having a lot of armor and maintaining it throughout the game. Bladed Gauntlet is one of many weapons that the warrior gets. As stated before, warriors in World of Warcraft were experts in all manner of melee weaponry. Warriors in Hearthstone get access to the most weapons out of any other class in the game, and the most varied types of abilities on these weapons. Warriors also have cards that synergize when you have weapons equipped, or if you have weapons in your deck, or cards in your hand. So a card like Hobart Grapplehammer will buff all the cards in your hand and deck, whereas a card like Bloodsteel Cultist will give you a buff to the weapon you have currently equipped. A card that's kind of interesting to think about is Lesser Mithril Spellstone, which upgrades when you equip the weapon. I'd like to see more of cards that trigger off equipping weapons in the future of the game. The next thing that I want to talk about is the rush and charge mechanics. So charge has sort of fallen out of favor in the game and been largely replaced with rush, but it all originates back from the World of Warcraft warriors, which would charge into battle and start doing damage to the enemies. You have cards that have charge and rush naturally, like Rabid Worgen and Corkrun Elite. You also have cards that grant rush and charge, like Charge or Rocket Boots. Furthermore, you have cards that synergize with these rush and charge minions. So you have a card like Town Crier, which will fetch them out of your deck, and Warstorm Commander, which now gives your charge minions a little bit of a buff. I think that card is really bad now, but this is what they were trying to go for in the core identity of the warrior class. The next type of effect that warrior minions get is Taunt. So warriors have a lot of minions that have taunt naturally, such as Fierce Monkey and Bloodhoof Brave, but there are also a lot of minions that spawn taunt minions, like Obsidian Destroyer and Security Rover. The fact that warriors have a lot of taunt minions is reflected in its spells pool. So the legendary quest tasks you with playing a lot of taunt minions, whereas some other spells give your taunt minions buffs, such as Bolster and Stolen Goods. You also have cards that give you a bonus if you have a taunt minion, such as King's Defender. The next thing I want to talk about really quickly is that there are some tribes that the warrior class favors. So a card like Alex Ross's Champion shows that warriors dip into dragon synergies. Bloodsteel Cultist tells you that you dip into pirate synergies, and that makes a lot of sense because pirates are the weapons tribe, and warriors are the weapons class. And Dr. Who Mad Genius, which gives your minions, your mech minions, rush. And so that's really telling us that, in this new set specifically, that warriors have tried to get a identity with mech minions. So eventually, you're going to have to want to win the game. And from the earliest parts of the game, there was a deck called Wallet Warrior, which just played a lot of legendary minions and control elements. And so that sort of has become reflected in the current game design philosophy, where warriors are trying to cheat out large minions from their deck and from their hand. So you have cards like the Recruit, Woe Cleaver, and Gather Your Parties, as well as cards like Ivarian Rin and the Boom Ship, which will just dump minions onto the battlefield. Since warriors have a long history of being a controlling class, it makes sense that they have a very strong late game. And so there's a lot of cards that allow you to outlast your opponents in the late game. So cards like Dead Man's Hand, which actually give you infinity cards, Omega Assembly, and Tentacle of Arms, which give you a lot of more resources, or a card like Iron Juggernaut, which will say, hey, if we keep playing this game, I'm going to deal a lot of damage to you, and is used in some combos as well. Exploring Goro is kind of an interesting card in this category because it allows you to say, okay, I'm going to play this new deck where I can sort of change how I want to play the game and sort of adapt to your situation. And so I think that's a really neat card. So this is the design space that I have seen that Blizzard has carved out for Warriors. And I've taken it upon myself to create some custom cards that would make sense in some of the design space gaps. The first card I want to talk about is Pain Giant, which is a 12 mana 8/8 giant, obviously, that costs 1 less for each time a minion is damaged this turn. I was looking back at the early cards, Armorsmith and Frothing Berserker. I was thinking there's not a lot of cards that care about all the enemy minions and all your minions getting damaged, aside from getting clear board. And so Pain Giant sort of falls into that space. I was debating between making this cheaper for each time a minion is damaged this turn, or if I wanted to make a really large costing minion like Molten Giant, where it costs 1 less for each time a minion has been damaged this game. In the end, I determined that costing 1 less each time a minion is damaged this turn was more interesting gameplay. The next card I want to talk about is Better Gear. And so this says, draw a card and then if you gained armor this turn, you can draw another card. And so this is sort of just, hey, if you need to cycle this card, you can do it. But if you combo this with some armor gain cards or your hero power, you can get a lot of extra velocity in your deck. And as a controlling deck, you want to have a lot of cards in order to kill your opponent's threats and outlast them. So I think that's a really interesting card. The next thing I want to talk about is this Jonas Pacumule legendary minion with Battlecry, equip the weapon from your hand. And so this goes into the theme of both cheating weapons into play and big things into play, as well as the weapon synergies. This will not give you the Battlecry effects of the weapons that you want, but it's a good tempo play. And there was a lot of success with Malkorok, equipped in a random weapon. And if you can set this up with Gorehal, for example, you'll be able to really, give a 1-2 punch of strength. And I think that that's really an interesting card as well. The last card is Reinforcements, just another way to tutor out big minions from your deck. Because, again, as a control deck, you'll either want to have your big minions on time when you can cast them, or as like an aggro deck, you want to have like your Hail Mary, Leroy, or Ragnaros to finish out the game. Or maybe this could be used as a combo deck enabler. Grab your Mechathune at the right time, or you're just a regular old Cthulhu. And so these are some thoughts I had, and I just want to carve into more design space that Blizzard has laid out for us as designers and as players. Again, this is my first video, so let me know what you guys think. Thank you very much.